Hello everyone, today is 24th of March. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, in today's GS folder, we'll take a quote from Jimi Hendrix, an influential songwriter. He says, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace." So this thing is very well known that the lust to power, the clingingness to authority leads a person to take unethical decisions and to abuse the power. And therefore, the love of power is the only hope to bring the meaningful peace. Guys, please do utilize this particular quote into the GS paper number 4 related answers. So that is all. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, guys, taking up the first article. So, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see a positive shift is coming into the vaccination drive for the COVID 19. Now, guys, it has been seen that now we are reeling into the second wave of the pandemic of COVID 19. Now, the first wave was supposed to be into the month of June when there was an exponential rise into the cases, and a similar kind of increase now can also seen, particularly after the February 15th. And, guys, onto the similar lines, the cases in Maharashtra are also increasing. However, one positive thing is that the now second wave is different because here the number of tests are also much more higher than the tests which are being done into the first wave. In first wave, approximately 2.5 lakh average daily tests were being conducted. Now, approximately 8 lakh daily tests are being conducted. So, increase can also be due to these high increased testing which has been there. Now, guys, government in order to reverse the second wave has decided that all people above the age of 45 years will be eligible to receive the vaccination for COVID-19. Earlier, only people beyond the 60 years of age or people beyond 45 years of age, but ones who are having the chronic medical conditions such as diabetes, etc., were only allowed. Now, the bar of chronic comorbidities have been removed and anyone above 45 years is eligible. Now, guys, if we see in terms of number of doses that has been administered, India is third onto the world and had given 4.85 crore doses to the people. But, guys, in terms of absolute percentage, this particular number is very much less. So therefore, providing a universal vaccination to all beyond the 45 years will be helping to increase the vaccination coverage. Now, guys, particularly if we see what are the reasons of this second wave, so there could be principally three reasons. Number one, now the virus is mutating into the other forms and therefore now it is becoming more and more infective. After that, there are the imports of the foreign variants also. For example, guys, into the Punjab, after the genome sequencing of the COVID 19, it has been found that 81% of the samples they are of the UK variant because large number of people have returned back. Then there is also the lowering of guard, the social distancing, wearing of mask, and the sanitization, etc., is not being taken very seriously by the people, and by this also the number of cases have been increased. So, guys, that is all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. However, guys, you don't need to go too much into the hairline details because this particular development is very much volatile. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that the Permanent Indus Water Commission is holding their meet, which is a very positive signal into the context of India-Pakistan relations. Guys, couple of days back, also we have seen that the ceasefire between the India and Pakistan has again been made operational after it was broken into the recent years. And now, guys, earlier the ceasefire came into effect in 2003, and for a couple of years it was very much effective. Now, when we talk about this Permanent Indus Commission, let's take some of the basic facts about this particular arrangement. Now, guys, you might be knowing that there is Indus Water Treaty between the India and Pakistan that was signed in 1960 and was mediated by the World Bank to divide the Indus water between two countries. Now, as per this treaty, this Indus system has been divided in two parts. One is of the eastern rivers and other is of the western rivers. Now, the eastern rivers, particularly the Beas, Ravi, and Satluj, have been given to the India, whereas the western rivers of Indus, Chenab, and Jhelum they have been given to the Pakistan. Further, it was also provided that in that India, apart from using the water of the eastern rivers, also have right to use the water from the western rivers for the limited irrigation as well as for the unlimited non-consumptive purpose. It simply means that water can be used for electricity generation, for navigation purpose, etc. Then further, in order to facilitate the cooperation, it was also said that there will also be an establishment of the Permanent Indus Commission, which will be a representative body to hear the disputes and grievances that will be there between the India and Pakistan with respect to the interpretation of the Indus Water Treaty. And this PIC was to meet very much regularly. But now, guys, from last 2.5 years, there have been no meet of the Permanent Indus Commission because of, first of all, there was the Pulwama attack, then there was the Balakot airstrike, then there was the revocation of Article 370, and because of them, the relations were there onto a bumpy trajectory. And then the COVID-19 pandemic kicked in. Now, guys, last year in March also the meet was to be held, but it was to be cancelled because of the pandemic. And now finally the Permanent Indus Commission's meet is being held. Now, what are the major issues that we will be discussed here, guys? Please see this particular thing. Now, the Pakistan has objected two of India's project. One is the Pakal Dul project and other is the Lower Kalnai. Now, the Pakal Dul, it is a hydroelectric project which is worth 1000 megawatt, and it is being developed onto the river Marusudar, which is a tributary of the Chenab. Now, you know that the Chenab river was given to the Pakistan, and Pakistan has an objection with this particular project. Then the second project is the Lower Kalnai, and it is being built onto the Chenab. Now, with this also, the Pakistan has an objection, and to resolve this particular matter, this meet is going to be held. Now, guys, earlier also onto the Kishan Ganga river, there were the disputes which were tried to be resolved into the Permanent Indus Commission. Now, after the ceasefire, this particular meet is a very positive signal, and if any question onto the neighborhood relation comes, the steps that India is being taken, you can quote all of them. So, guys, that is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, friends, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and again, it will be important for your GS paper number 2, developments into the neighborhood. Now, what has happened? India had abstained in voting into the United Nations Human Rights Council vote, which has been held onto the Sri Lanka. Now, first of all, let's understand the background information for this. Now, guys, the United Nations Human Rights Council into the Geneva had alleged that the war crimes were done by the Sri Lanka during the fourth Elam War phase. Now, guys, the Elam War was the civil war which was being held between the Sri Lanka as well as the Litte, which stands for Liberation Tamil Tigers Elam. Now, the Litte, they said that they are the representative of the Tamilian rights, which are not being given by the Sri Lanka. And but the Sri Lankan government considered Litte that it is a kind of a terrorist organization, and the confrontation between the Litte and the Sri Lanka continued for many years. And around 2009, when the final phase of this particular civil war was being held, it was alleged that both of them, that is the Sri Lankan as well as Litte, had committed atrocities onto the civilian population. Both have targeted the civilian population, particularly the Sri Lanka government, they targeted the Tamilians, and Litte, they targeted the Sinhalese population. And therefore, the war crimes have been committed. Now, the war crimes are completely prohibited under the Geneva Convention. Now, guys, the Litte has been eliminated. So there is one party which has been left, that is the Sri Lankan government, and the conduct of Sri Lankan government is being investigated by the UNHRC since 2014. Now, guys, on to this particular resolution, the voting was held. Now, into this particular voting, from very long, the Sri Lanka was persuading India that India should take the Sri Lanka's side. Now, India had actually adopted a middle path and had abstained from voting. Neither it had said that Sri Lanka had the role, nor it had denied. It had simply abstained. And, guys, along with the India, there are many other countries which also had abstained, including the Japan. Guys, Japan is also the strategic partner of India into the Sri Lanka, because India and Japan collectively will be developing the West Container Terminal. So, guys, in total, including the Japan, 12 countries had abstained. And on to the other hand, the 11 members, including the China, they had opposed this resolution. They had denied the Sri Lanka's role. But, guys, collectively, the countries who had favored the resolution, they are more. They have 22 members. So therefore, ultimately, the resolution has been passed. But the Sri Lanka had called it as a kind of a unilateralist attempt to invade the sovereignty of the Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka had called that all the charges are baseless and they had no role into the human right violation. So, guys, that is all which had happened. Now, you don't need to go into the hairline details that how many countries abstained, how many countries actually voted. You just need to see that what stand the India has taken, maximum what has been taken by the Japan as well as China, because all of them are the important players into the Sri Lanka. So guys, that is all into this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Friends, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the changing geopolitics with respect to the power trade in Asia. Now, guys, here we can see that what had happened recently, the new trade of electricity rules 2021 have been framed by India, which aims that who can buy the electricity from India and who can sell the electricity to India. Now, guys, this particular thing will be having the huge ramification from the particularly on Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal, which are aiming to be the electricity exporter to the India. Now, first of all, let's see that what changes with respect to the rules have been come. Now, guys, there is the significant change into the rules of ownership. So now India strongly discourages the participation of plants owned by a company situated in a third country with whom India shares a land border and does not have a bilateral agreement onto the power sector. Now, simply what it means, now guys, suppose there is Bhutan. Into the Bhutan, a plant has been developed by any third country. For example, the plant has been developed by the China into the Bhutan, and from this particular plant, the electricity is now exported to the India. So basically, we can see that the China is a third country which has developed this particular plant, and with the China, India is also having a land boundary. So this particular type of thing is not possible, and we know that it is directly aimed at the China. Moreover, there is also one more change which had happened here. That is, there is the restriction onto the tripartite trade. That is a kind of electricity that is coming from, let's say, via Bhutan to Bangladesh through the Indian territory. So here, basically, from one country, the electricity is being generated. It is transversing the other country and actually reaching to the third country. And then finally, government has also provided that now it will be doing the stringent auditing as well as supervision with respect to the holding patterns, so that meanwhile there is no change into the ownership. So basically, it is aimed at dissuading the China. Now, guys, let's see by one that what ramifications will be there. Now, first of all, in 2014, India started the liberalization of electricity trade into the neighborhood, and this was long desired. India used here the platform of the SARC. Now, guys, but at the same time, India said the private sector will not be allowed for this electricity trade. Now, guys, for so long, the requests were made by the neighborhood countries such as the Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. And in 2018, private sector was allowed, but the China was still insulated. And now, with these new rules of 2021, China had kept into huge sideline. Now, guys, this particular thing comes to the fact that into the recent years, China had invested heavily into the electricity infrastructure into the BBN countries, but now keeping China aside will be keeping their country's potential aside, and they will not be able to reap the economic benefits. Then, guys, the second issue that comes is that the India in 2020 came out with one sun, one world, one grid plan. Now, this is a very ambitious plan of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and here the proposal is that approximately 140 countries will be connected together so that the solar energy can be transferred across the nation. Now, guys, here the vision of this one solar, one world, one grid plan is that the sun never sets. See, if the sun is not there into the east, it will be shining into the west. So here the electricity can be generated and can be transferred to the east. After that, when it is shining into the east, from the east the electricity can be transferred to the west. Now, guys, here the India stands at a fulcrum point, and on both of the sides there will be the two zones. One will be the west zone and one will be the east zone. Now, guys, into this particular plan there will be the East Asia, West Asia, Africa, and all countries into this particular vicinity. So India is promoting a kind of a borderless trade. But now into the trade of electricity rules, India had imposed so much of the limitation. So basically, it shows a kind of an ad hocism into the India's policy. Then, guys, thirdly, to actually counter China will not be a very much easy task, because China itself is having the power pool ambitions in which China wants to play a leadership role. So therefore, the China's challenge will be a very much formidable thing which India needs to see into the times to come. So, guys, these are all the issues that are coming into this particular particular thing. Guys, please do utilize this particular article in GS paper number 2, answers related to the IR and neighborhood, as well as in GS paper number 3, the infrastructure. So that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Guys, this article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and here we can see that the Supreme Court has given a judgment with respect to the penal interest rate that were collected by the banks for the moratorium period. Now, guys, you might be knowing that during the time of the lockdown, government provided that the people who have taken the loan from the banks, they need not to pay the EMIs for a specific window, that is from March 1st to the August 31st. Now, guys, meanwhile, what banks did? Banks imposed the compound interest onto the interest which was pending during this particular period, and that particular amount was either collected or was shown as arrear into the loan accounts. And for that particular thing, a petition was sent to the Supreme Court that it is a kind of a penalty that is being charged. And guys, into this particular thing, now the finally judgment had said, and it has been said that all such penal interest rates are to be refunded if they have been collected. According to the Supreme Court, everybody has been suffered due to the COVID-19 lockdown, and by that particular thing, it was not possible for the people to pay their EMIs, and for that, the imposing the compound interest is a kind of a tyrannical. Moreover, guys, you might be knowing that government also came out with a restriction on declaring the account as NPAs during the lockdown periods. Now, the judgment has also said that now the banks and lenders can declare the accounts as non-performing assets if the installments are not being paid. Now, guys, into the October, it was banned. It was said that for a considerable window of 6 months, the accounts will not be declared as NPA because they are suffering an economic unviability. After that, there is also one third matter which has been settled. It has settled the irrational of the government's loan interest waiver scheme. Now, guys, government had decided into the October that if there is a loan that has been taken and the value of loan is up to 2 crore rupees for the MSME, education, housing, consumer durable, credit card, auto loan, personal loan, and for the consumption categories, then on to them, interest on the interest will be waived if the EMIs were not paid. So this particular thing has been called as arbitrary by the Supreme Court because number one, why the limit of only 2 crore is there, and secondly, why only these 8 categories have been given the exemption. There is no objective rationale. So therefore, the Supreme Court has called it as unreasonable and irrational. So guys, this is all the development that has happened into this particular context. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. No, guys, here we can take one article from the Hindu which can be used as a case study that how government is not seriously considering the issue of rising pollution into the metropolitan cities, particularly into the Delhi, which every year chokes by the winter pollution that is caused into the stubble burning into the nearby states. Even the Supreme Court had called it Delhi as a gas chamber into the months of December. Now, guys, you might have been seen even in our newspaper analysis, we have taken that the central government constituted the Commission for Air Quality Management, which will be having the representative from the nearby states also, and they will design a kind of a roadmap that how the pollution can be reduced. Now, guys, this Commission for Air Quality Management was established by an ordinance under the article number 123 of the Indian Constitution. Now, you know that the maximum length of an ordinance could be the 6 month and 6 weeks, until which it has either to be converted into a law or otherwise it will lapse. Now, guys, no attempt has been made to convert this ordinance into a law, and now it will finally be extinguishing. Guys, even a bill has not been kept into the parliament, and now only last 2 days are there. There is not even a possibility that a fresh bill will be there to reactivate the commission. It shows that how government is not taking the pollution seriously. Moreover, when this particular commission was installed, at that point of time, it was also said that the Environmental Prevention and Control Authority EPCA, which was functional, it was also dissolved into the October. So, guys, how the pollution will be handled, we have to see it as the time will be passing out. So, guys, that is all about this particular article. Please do utilize as a case study or as an example into your answers. So, guys, that is all for the today's newspaper analysis. I hope that you have understood it. Thank you so much.